I had just finished folding the last of the baby's onesies when I heard him cooing from the nursery. Soft, hiccupy little sounds, the kind that make your heart forget everything else. I walked in quietly, careful not to startle anyone. Everly was standing by the crib, rocking him with one foot and texting with one hand. I smiled. "May I hold him for a minute?" Before I could take a step closer, she spun around and slapped my hand away. "Don't touch him. Your hands are dirty." The words hit harder than the shove. I looked at her, stunned. Her eyes didn't flinch, didn't even register what she'd just said. Just a cold stare, like I was some stranger who'd wandered in off the street. Jacob stood nearby, fiddling with the humidifier. He didn't look up, didn't say a word. Not a single word. I slowly stepped back, my hand still hovering midair, dropped to my side. I nodded once, turned around, and walked out of the nursery like I had no claim there at all. Down the hallway, past the photos that had once hung, my wedding portrait, Jacob's first day of kindergarten, the Christmas we all laughed so hard my husband choked on sweet potato pie. All gone now, replaced by blank beige walls and Everly's minimalist taste. Dirty. They changed his diapers for 2 weeks straight. While Everly recovered, they folded his clothes, cooked his meals, paid for his crib, painted that nursery she now claimed as hers. But sure, dirty. It was supposed to be 12 months, maybe 13 if they needed to save a bit more. That's what Jacob said when he and Everly showed up on my porch, with tear-streaked cheeks and boxes full of plans they couldn't afford anymore. His job had disappeared, hers was still part-time, and rent in Savannah had gone up again. "Just until we get steady," he promised, setting the boxes down next to my flower pots like it was already decided. I didn't even hesitate. I gave them the master bedroom, larger, with more light and space for the baby Everly kept saying would come someday. I moved my things into the smaller room, donated half my clothes to make space in the closet. When the bills started piling, I paid them quietly, automatically, like a reflex. Now coffee is the only thing I keep for myself. I brew it early before they wake up and sit out on the porch while the sun rises over the cracked driveway. This morning, though, I lingered in the hallway too long. Everly's voice floated in from the kitchen, high-pitched and laughing. "She still folds the towels like it's her job," she told someone on speaker. Then Jacob's voice, light, amused. "She's basically our live-in helper." I didn't move, didn't breathe. Live-in helper. That's what I had become. Not mother, not grandma, not the woman who taught him how to ride a bike or stitched his graduation gown when the zipper broke. I stepped back, quiet as a breeze. I needed to think, to plan, because the next time someone laughed about me in my own house, I didn't want to be there to hear it. Naomi hadn't visited in almost 7 months. Not because she didn't care. She called every week, left voicemails, sent cards on the holidays. I was the one who kept saying, "Maybe next time. It's a little chaotic right now." And it was. Everly didn't like guests unless they were hers. She said it disrupted the baby's rhythm. But when Naomi texted that she was in town for just a day, I didn't have the heart to say no again. I made a fresh pot of coffee, swept the floor twice, and met her outside before she had a chance to ring the bell. We entered through the side door. Quieter that way. Easier. She followed me through the narrow laundry room and into what I now called my space, the converted garage with a twin mattress, a wire shelf, and a folding table that doubled as a desk and dinner tray. Naomi stopped cold. "Wait, is this where you sleep?" I nodded. "It's fine, it stays warm enough." Her eyes scanned the corners, the cracked space heater, the draft under the garage door, the single plate by the sink still clean because I hadn't used it last night. I didn't feel hungry after hearing Jacob call me their helper. Naomi pulled out her phone. "What are you doing?" I asked. "I need you to see what I'm seeing," she said, voice tight. She took photos of the mattress, the shelf, even the bent spoon I used to stir coffee. "This isn't temporary, Lisa. This is survival, and it's not yours to carry." I waved her off and reached for the coffee pot. "They're just overwhelmed. He's working again. The baby's new. It's not like they're malicious." Naomi took the mug from my hand and set it down. "Lisa, they've built a life using you as scaffolding, and now they won't even let you in the main house." I didn't reply, just picked up the mug and took a sip, staring out at the half-frosted window. I'd given them everything I had, but for the first time, I wasn't sure what that had made me or what I had left. 2 days after Naomi left, the mail came later than usual. I went out to the box, expecting the usual grocery flyers and bank statements. Mixed in was a thick, cream-colored envelope addressed to Everly, but printed with my name beneath hers, like a hyphen that shouldn't exist. I almost left it on the kitchen counter the way I always did, but something about the weight of it made me pause. Back in the garage, I sat on my mattress and slid it open with my thumb. Inside were pre-approval forms and mortgage documents, our address, my property description. But Everly's handwriting filling in the blanks, my signature, crooked and wrong, was scrawled across a consent form I had never seen. The date stamped on the corner was only a week old. I felt my heart hammering, but my hands were steady. I pulled out my laptop, went to the county's online records. It didn't take long to find her attempt. A half-finished application to add a secondary owner to the deed. No official change yet, but she'd started the process. Quietly, methodically. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. All the small humiliations, all the times I'd told myself it wasn't personal, they lined up like dominoes and tipped toward this. This wasn't about a bedroom or a schedule. This was about my house. I printed every page one by one and slipped them into a folder. Then I opened my old file drawer under the desk, the one still labeled in my husband's handwriting, Insurance, Taxes, Deed. I slid the new folder in and wrote 3 words on the tab, just in case. When I closed the drawer, the sound echoed louder than it should have. I sat there staring at the metal handle, feeling something shift inside me. I didn't tell Jacob, I didn't confront Everly, not yet. I needed to know how deep this went before I moved. That night, long after the house went quiet, I brewed another pot of coffee and began making a list of everything I'd overlooked, everything she might already have touched, and everything I still had left to protect. The first thing I noticed was the color. The nursery walls had been painted a soft green when Jacob was born, his father's idea to match the willow trees behind the house, but now they were beige, blank, cold, and spotless, like someone had erased every trace of warmth and called it modern. I stood in the doorway unnoticed as Everly taped up minimalist animal prints, gray elephants and white owls. The rocking chair I had used when Jacob was a baby was gone, replaced by something sleek and sharp-edged. I didn't ask where it had gone. I already knew the answer. Down the hallway, more things vanished quietly. The family photo wall, years of birthdays, camping trips, and holiday dinners had been replaced with abstract canvas prints. My husband's army portrait, gone. My college graduation picture, gone. Even the one of Jacob holding his first library card, grinning with a missing tooth, gone. I found my wedding quilt 2 days later, folded inside the laundry bin in the garage, stained with baby wipes, balled-up onesies, and a half-used bottle of formula. I picked it up, brushed it off, and ran my hand over the stitching. My mother had sewn it for me the night before my wedding, 37 years ago. It smelled like storage now. That night, I waited until Jacob was alone in the kitchen and asked softly, "Did you repaint the nursery?" He didn't look up from his plate. Everly thought the green was dated. I tried again. "And the photos?" She wanted a cleaner look, more neutral. I nodded slowly. "And the quilt?" He glanced up, uncomfortable. "Mom, it's her home too now. She needs to feel comfortable." I opened my mouth to reply, then stopped. I looked around the kitchen, the new fixtures, the stripped shelves, the empty space where my spice rack used to hang. So did I thought, so did I. I didn't argue. I just carried the quilt back to the garage, folded it carefully, and placed it in the top drawer beneath the mortgage folder. Then I sat down and wrote a new word in my notebook. Transition. Naomi showed up on a Thursday morning with a paper bag in her arms and the same worried crease between her eyebrows. She didn't wait for an invitation, just walked straight through the side door into my garage space and set the bag on the folding table. "Blueberry," she said, "still your favorite." I poured us both coffee and slid a mug across to her. She didn't touch it right away. Her eyes scanned the room like she was taking inventory, the same way she had during her last visit. "You still have the deed, right?" she asked quietly. I nodded. "Safety deposit box. Same bank we've always used. Untouched." Her shoulders eased a little. "Good. Don't let it out of your hands." I broke a muffin in half but didn't eat. The word transition from my notebook stared up at me from the table, heavy as a verdict. "I'm not sure what to do, Naomi. Every time I think it can't go further, it does." Naomi reached for my hand. "Then stop waiting for it to stop. Make it stop." Her words sat between us, stronger than the coffee. For a moment, I saw my younger self reflected in her eyes. The woman who'd paid off a mortgage, raised a son alone after a car accident, took care of her husband, and kept the house standing on one librarian's salary. I had forgotten that woman existed. After Naomi left, I stood at the window, staring at the faint outline of the oak tree in the yard. Then I went to the corner of the room, opened my old address book, and found the number I hadn't dialed in over a decade. My late husband's attorney, Robert Martin. He answered on the second ring. "Lisa Rhodes, it's been a long time." I took a breath. "I just have some questions," I said. But my voice came out steadier than it had in years. "Tell me everything," he replied. And so I did. While outside the window, Everly's car pulled into the driveway, and Jacob's laughter floated faintly from the kitchen. I printed it late at night after the house had gone still. Just one sheet of paper. No legal jargon, no emotional pleas, just the facts. The kind of facts people stop respecting when you deliver them with softness. Notice to vacate 30 days. I signed it, dated it, folded it neatly, and placed it on the kitchen table, dead center, right between Everly's imported salt grinder and Jacob's half-finished protein shake. No note, no explanation, just the line they crossed and the one I was finally drawing. By the time they found it, I was already back in the garage folding laundry like it was any other Wednesday. The knock came that night. Not frantic, just heavy, familiar. "Mom," Jacob said from the other side of the door, "can we talk?" Before I could answer, Everly's voice cut through him like glass. "You can't be serious. You're kicking us out after everything we've done for you?" I didn't move. I didn't open the door. Another knock. "Mom, please." Then the door handle jiggled like they expected it to still belong to them. It didn't. "I knew you'd pull something like this," Everly snapped. "God, you're just bitter. You want everyone to owe you forever." I sat quietly on the edge of my bed, listening. Not shaking, not afraid. Eventually, the house went quiet. I stood, walked to the front door, and opened it. The night was cool. The porch light flickered on with a click I had always loved. Simple, steady, dependable. I sat on the wicker chair I'd bought 20 years ago at a garage sale and poured myself a cup of coffee. From inside, I could still hear movement, whispers, pacing. But out here, the stars were clear, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a guest in my own home. The folder marked "Just in Case" was now resting in my bag by the front door, along with copies for the attorney. And the next morning, I would deliver the originals to the county office before breakfast. The call came 3 days later. Everly's voice, clipped and furious. "You really think you can pull this? I have rights too, you know." But the county office didn't agree, especially not after the forged signature surfaced. Robert called me that same afternoon, his voice calm but with the sharp edge of a man who'd seen this play out too many times. "They flagged the documents. There's going to be an inquiry into the attempted filing. It's not criminal yet, but it's close." By the end of the week, Everly was gone. Not with a bang, not with a fight, just with a car full of boxes and her father's voice on speaker saying, "We'll figure it out." She didn't look at me when she left. She didn't look at Jacob either. Jacob stayed. He didn't ask if he could. He didn't say thank you. He just stood in the doorway of my room that evening holding a trash bag full of his clothes and nodded once. "I'll move into the spare room," he said. I nodded back. I cooked that night. First time in weeks. Just chicken and rice. Simple. I set 2 plates on the kitchen table, the same one we'd gathered around every Christmas before things got complicated and quiet. He sat across from me, still in his work clothes, his shoulders hunched like a boy about to be scolded. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't ask him why he let it all happen. He didn't apologize, not out loud, but his hands trembled slightly as he reached for the salt. And when he passed me the bread, he held on a second too long. We ate in silence, not because there was nothing to say, but because neither of us knew where to start. After he went to bed, I washed the dishes and dried them by hand like I used to. Then I pulled out a clean set of sheets and started making up the guest room, the one that used to be his long before we both forgot how to speak to each other. The seasons turned like they always do, quietly, without asking permission. Spring came early that year. The porch smelled like fresh rain and cut grass, and for the first time in a long time, the house felt still in a good way. Jacob had been careful. He never asked to talk about Everly. He didn't ask me to forgive her. He just stayed. He paid rent without being told, fixed the leaky faucet in the laundry room, repainted the nursery back to green all on his own, though no one had moved back in. We spoke in small ways. He'd leave my favorite coffee creamer on the counter. I'd fold his work shirts without comment. Nothing dramatic, just quiet repairs. And then one morning, I heard the screen door creak open behind me. I was sitting on the porch as always, coffee in hand. I didn't turn around. "He took his first real step today," Jacob said. "Figured you should see the second." I looked over. He was standing at the edge of the porch steps, holding his son under the arms. The boy wriggled with impatience, legs kicking like he already knew what they were for. Jacob set him down gently. The baby wobbled, blinked at me, and took one uncertain step forward, then another. 2 steps, 3, straight into my open arms. No one said, "Don't touch him." No one pulled him back. I scooped him up, warm and heavier than I remembered, and pressed my face into the soft crease of his neck. He laughed, a quick startled sound that made something crack wide open in my chest. When I looked up, Jacob was standing with his hands in his pockets. His eyes glistened, but his voice stayed even. "I'm sorry," he said, "for all of it." I nodded. Then, after a moment, I reached out with my free arm. He came and sat beside me, shoulder to shoulder. We didn't speak again. There wasn't a speech left to give. We just sat there, the 3 of us, watching the morning spread across the yard like it used to before silence meant distance and quiet meant pain. It didn't happen all at once. There was no grand announcement, no big moment where everything was magically repaired. But slowly, piece by piece, the house began to feel like mine again. I painted the nursery myself one weekend, took down the animal prints, and chose a soft blue-gray that calmed the room, turned it into a guest space with a modest bed and a reading lamp, the kind of room that waits, not demands. Jacob moved into the back room, the one with the view of the garden where I used to grow tomatoes before life got too crowded. He paid his share of the bills without needing a reminder. He started cooking on Sundays. His biscuits were dry the first few times, but I never said a word. He kept trying. Naomi came by more often now. She'd bring fresh fruit, old gossip, and always that steady presence that reminded me who I was before I let myself get small. She joked once, "Feels like you kicked out the wrong person 5 years too late." I didn't disagree. The mornings were quiet again, not silent, just peaceful. I could sit on the porch with my coffee, listen to the birds, and hear the faint rustle of Jacob making breakfast inside. Sometimes the baby would come out in his little socks and climb into my lap, dragging a board book with sticky fingers. I always made room. One afternoon, while organizing old papers, I pulled out the deed from the safety deposit envelope. It was untouched, still mine, but I added something this time. A short note, handwritten, tucked into the folder and clipped with a paper clip. To be transferred to Jacob's son once he is old enough to understand respect, not before. I sealed it again, placed it back in the envelope, and locked it away. This house has seen joy, loss, betrayal, and rebuilding. And now it holds something new. Boundaries. The rules are simple now. Kindness is required, respect is earned, and nothing is taken without being offered.